on the line with us is the Reverend D. Alexander Bullock, the Executive Director of the Change Agent Consortium. Go over to Facebook.com/ActionCAC is their website, ActionCAC. And Reverend Bullock, welcome back to the program.
Tom, great to be back. Good to be back.
It is always great having you with us, sir. I'm assuming you've seen Selma?
I saw Selma in D.C., actually, around the Christmas holiday at one of the special premieres. And I was listening to your comments before the break. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, it really demonstrates how a movement can shape public policy, how movement politics can move the country forward. But it also, for me, struck a chord around the issue of voting and how 50 years ago we were fighting for equality before the law, fighting for everyone to have not only the right but actually access to voting. And it seems 50 years later, whether you talk about what happened in Florida, you talk about emergency management in Michigan, you talk about voter suppression across the nation, 50 years later, we seem to still be fighting to protect the franchise and make sure that voting matters in a significant way. And so Selma then became alive, more than just a movie about Dr. King and what happened back then. It became a movie about what needs to happen right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And for example, we've got this new GAO report that found in the wake of these voter ID laws that ALEC is promoting and are being passed by state after state, this is from a report by Reed Wilson over at the Government Beat, not sure the blog here, but it says black turnout dropped 3.7 percentage points more than white turnout in Kansas and by 1.5 percentage points more than whites in Tennessee after voter ID laws passed. And these laws are supposed to keep people, quote, who aren't Americans from voting. And of course, the right-wingers who push these things say, oh, it's going to be the Mexicans who are coming in, you know, but really what it's all about is suppressing the black vote in the United States, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
No, I agree. I think it's about suppressing the black vote. I think it's about suppressing the vote of low to middle income persons, folks that would obviously have a public policy leaning towards strong unions, strong federal government, strong equality legislation. And, you know, and I think that, you know, it's amazing that struggle for the franchise, for equality before the law continues. You know, so even as we celebrate Dr. King on today, you know, we cannot just talk about what Dr. King did. We cannot just remember Selma, the I Have a Dream speech, or even the Poor People's Campaign, which I think is some uncharted territory and some unfinished business that we must continue. But we don't just look backwards, we look forwards. We plant our feet and we discover that we have to continue to fight for the full franchise for all Americans. I think also this whole question of not being American, not being a citizen, maybe not even being human, is an interesting rhetoric and ideology that is so persistent in a negative way in this country, and is used to try to exclude certain people from being a part of the American experiment, which is democracy. You know, so in Detroit today, we're marching against police brutality, also registering people to vote, also talking about the franchise, but focusing on police brutality, because what we've seen is not only are people dehumanized in a way that excludes them from democracy, but they're dehumanized in a way that excludes them from being able to get justice when there's excessive or wanton, cruel police force use, whether it's Ferguson, whether it's Eric Gardner in Staten Island, or Mackenzie Cochran, who was choked to death in a mall right outside of the city of Detroit in Southfield, Michigan. What we've discovered is that the threshold is so high that really no law enforcement officer will ever be convicted criminally of killing anybody. And so that means we've got to register to vote. We've got to vote. We've got to change the public policy. We've got to change the rules so that nobody is above the law.
Yeah.
So we march today to continue that movement.
So you're marching in Detroit today. Where and how, or where and when, rather?
We're marching today at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are meeting at Hartford Memorial Baptist Church, which is at 18700 James Cousins. We're marching to the site where Mackenzie Cochran was killed. We're marching to Northland Mall, which is about 1.5 miles away. So it's a short march. We're not marching from Selma to Montgomery. We're just marching from 7 Mile to 8.5 Mile. But we're gonna stop at Northland Mall where Mackenzie Cochran was killed. We're gonna go into the mall, go to the site where he was killed, where we will have a die-in to symbolize and dramatize his death, as well as the level of police brutality that we're seeing across the nation, but the dehumanization of African Americans and urban populations, with respect to law enforcement and the democratic process. So, we believe that Dr. King would be on the front line today, fighting for inclusion in democracy and fighting for equality before the law for all American citizens.
Well, I think of Dr. Martin Luther King, and I think of you, sir. You are carrying on his legacy, and you're doing great work. Did you see the story about the black police chief, who showed up at a white supremacist's house? The white supremacist shot him 4 times, 3 times in the chest. Fortunately, he had a bulletproof vest on, so he survived. The white supremacist was arrested and then released. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm looking at that going, Tamir Rice, it's just, anyway.
It's amazing that when you think about a case like that, that case is so glaring, and it shows that there are 2 sets of rules.
Yeah.
And that we have a legal system that doesn't treat everybody equally. So again, the struggle continues. Dr. inspires us. We follow his example, and we attempt to move America forward.
There you go. Get over to Facebook.com/ActionCAC, the Change Agent Consortium. Action CAC. Reverend D. Alexander Bullitt, the Executive Director of the Change Agent Consortium. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And happy Martin Luther King.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
I'm not sure I could ever say happy Robert E. Lee. Can't.